Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're zeroing in on basketball. Think about the sheer intensity of a game. The sprints, the cuts, the jumps. It's relentless. Optimizing the performance isn't just about grinding harder in the gym, it's about being smarter. And often, that smart training involves what fuel you're putting in your body. So our mission is to unpack some really fascinating research looking at how specific supplements might just supercharge performance and recovery in basketball players. We want to know what gives players that edge. Okay, let's get into it. The specific study we're diving into is titled Combined V's Single Supplementation of L-Citrulline and Sodium Bicarbonate During Sprint Interval Training in Basketball Players. Effects on Physical Performance and Hormonal Adaptations. It's by Wang, Yanyan Wang, and Qian, and you can find it in the Journal of Sports Science and Medicine. Published just recently, actually.
Yeah, and what's really compelling here is how this study tackles a core question for athletes and coaches. Can these common supplements, L-citrulline and sodium bicarbonate, really make a difference during intense training? And it goes deeper than just, jump height or sprint times. It looks at the hormonal side, too, how the body is actually coping. Why does it matter? Well, it's all about giving people solid, evidence-based info for boosting performance and managing that intense training stress. It's practical stuff.
Absolutely. Evidence is key. So who are the athletes involved in this?
Good question. They recruited 40 young male basketball players. Average age was about 21 and a half.
And crucially, these weren't beginners, right?
Exactly. They were already trained players from a local basketball academy. That's important because it means they had a consistent baseline, so the changes seen are more likely due to the study's interventions.
Okay, so trained athletes. How did the researchers set things up to make sure the results were reliable? Because that study design is everything.
Totally. And this one was pretty robust. It was a longitudinal study, meaning they followed the players over time, 7 weeks in this case. It was also randomized, double-blind, and placebo-controlled. Let's quickly unpack that.
Yeah, please do.
Randomized just means players were assigned to groups by chance. No picking favorites. Double-blind, this is the big one, means neither the players nor the researchers collecting the data knew who was getting the real supplements and who got the placebo.
Ah, so that stops expectations influencing the results.
Precisely. And placebo-controlled means one group got a dummy supplement, so you can compare the effects of the actual supplements against doing nothing extra.
Makes sense. So what were the groups?
Right, 5 groups, 8 players each. You had a group just taking L-citrulline, let's call it LCIT, another taking sodium bicarbonate, or SPEB, then a group taking both LCIT and SEB, a placebo group getting the dummy capsules, and finally, an active control group. They did the training but didn't take any specific supplement or placebo.
Okay, so 5 groups covering all the bases, and the timeline was 7 weeks.
Yeah, 7 weeks total. Week 1 was just getting familiar with the tests, then pre-testing, then 4 straight weeks of training with the supplementation, and finally, a post-testing week to see what changed.
Got it. And the training itself, you mentioned intense. What did that involve?
It was short sprint interval training, or SSIT, 3 times a week for those 4 weeks.
Okay.
Each session involved 3 sets of 10 reps, and each rep was a 5-second all-out sprint.
Wow, okay. That sounds demanding, but also very specific to basketball.
Exactly. The study points out that most sprints in a game are actually pretty short, like 2 to 6 seconds. So this SSIT protocol really mirrors those game-like bursts of effort.
So how did they measure if it was working? What tests did they run?
A whole battery of them, before and after. They measured counter movement, vertical jump CMVJ for explosive power.
Standard test.
Right. Also a 20-meter linear sprint for pure speed, and the Illinois change of direction speed test. Super relevant for basketball, obviously.
Completely critical, yeah.
Then they used the Wingate test to measure anaerobic power peak and mean output. Think short, intense bursts. And an incremental exercise test to get VO2 max, which tells us about their aerobic fitness. Plus, they took blood samples.
Ah, for the hormones.
Exactly. To check resting testosterone and cortisol levels. Key indicators of, stress and recovery status.
And the supplements themselves, how much were they taking and how?
Good point. Dosages were specific. 6 grams of LCIT daily. For sodium bicarbonate, it was 0.3 grams per kilogram of body weight daily. The combined group got both.
Okay.
And importantly, these were given in capsules 4 times a day with water. And the placebo. It was maltodextrin, but designed to look and taste exactly the same.
Crucial for keeping it double-blind.
Absolutely. Can't have people guessing what they're taking.
All right, let's get to the payoff. The results. What did they find?
Okay, first off, something simple but important. Everyone stuck with it. 100% compliance, and nobody reported injuries or stomach issues from the supplements.
That's good to know in itself.
Yep.
Tolerability matters.
Definitely. Now, the big picture. All the groups that did the SSC training, including the placebo group, got significantly better physically compared to the control group who just did their normal routine.
So the training protocol itself was effective.
Highly effective. But here's where it gets really interesting. The supplement groups,
Yeah?
the groups getting LCIT, or SPEB, or the combo, they showed more pronounced improvements in several key tests compared to the placebo group.
More pronounced. How much more?
They used effect sizes to measure the magnitude. For things like the vertical jump, the 20-meter sprint, and that Illinois change of direction test, the supplement group showed moderate to large effect sizes.
Okay, and moderate to large means?
It means the improvement was practically meaningful, like noticeable in performance. The placebo group also improved, but mostly with small effect sizes, so a difference, but less impactful.
Gotcha. What about power?
Similar story with the Wingate test peak and mean anaerobic power. The supplement groups showed greater improvements again. We're talking large to moderate effect sizes there compared to moderate to small for the placebo.
So translating this for, say, a coach listening, these supplements didn't just help the training, they seem to kind of amplify the results.
That's a great way to put it. They supercharged the adaptations from the SSIT. That effective training became even more effective with the supplements. Think potentially higher jumps, faster sprints, quicker cuts.
Which are game changers in basketball.
Absolutely. Now, the study does discuss why this might be happening.
The mechanisms.
Yeah. L-Citrulline is thought to boost nitric oxide, which helps blood flow and oxygen delivery, maybe helps clear waste products faster. Sodium bicarb is more about buffering the acid that builds up during intense work, delaying fatigue.
Okay, those are the common theories.
Right, but, and this is important, the study is careful to say these specific mechanisms in this context are still a bit ambiguous and speculative. They didn't measure blood lactate or nitric oxide directly, for example.
So plausible reasons, but needs more direct investigation.
Exactly. More research needed to nail down the precise how.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. What about the internal stuff?
Yeah.
The hormones, testosterone, for instance.
Right. So connecting to recovery and training load, interestingly, they found no significant changes in resting testosterone levels in any group.
None at all.
Nope. Suggests that over this 4-week period, neither the SSI nor the supplements really moved the needle on resting testosterone.
Okay. What about cortisol, the stress hormone?
Now, this was a key finding, really significant. Remember, high cortisol can mean high stress, maybe overtraining risk.
Yeah.
The supplement groups, LCIT, SEB, and the combo all showed significant reductions in cortisol levels after the 4 weeks.
Reductions while doing intense training.
Yes. But here's the kicker. The placebo group, their cortisol levels actually increased.
Wow. So the training was stressful, as expected, but the supplements seemed to buffer that stress response.
That's exactly what it suggests. It points towards these supplements having sort of anti-catabolic properties during this intense training block, helping manage the physiological stress.
That feels like a really important piece for long-term athlete health.
I think so too. Reducing that chronic stress response could be huge.
Now, you mentioned the combined group, LCIT plus SEV.
Mm-hmm.
Did taking both offer an extra edge compared to just taking one or the other?
That's what you might expect, right? A synergistic effect.
Yeah.
But interestingly, in this study, they found no significant differences in the physical performance gains between the 3 supplement groups. LCIT alone, SUVZ alone, and the combo group all improved similarly.
So for this specific 4-week training program, it seems like either one was enough.
That's what the data suggests. You didn't necessarily get more benefit by combining them, at least not over this time frame and with this protocol.
Interesting. Okay, what about aerobic fitness? Did VO2 max change differently?
Well, all the training groups, including the placebo, saw moderate bumps in VO2 max. So the SSIT helped aerobic capacity a bit too.
But the supplements?
The supplements didn't seem to provide an additional boost to VO2 max beyond what the training itself did.
Any thoughts on why?
The study suggests maybe 4 weeks just wasn't long enough for those specific aerobic adaptations from the supplements to really show up strongly. Might need a longer period.
Makes sense. Every study has its limits, of course. What did the researchers highlight as limitations here?
Well, like many studies, the sample size was, reasonable 40 participants, and they did a power analysis, but not huge. And perhaps more importantly, these findings are specifically in trained, young, male basketball players.
Right, so we can't automatically assume the same results would happen in female athletes or older players or maybe less trained individuals?
Exactly. Generalizability is a question mark. Needs more research across different populations.
Anything else?
They also noted the lack of detailed lab measures we talked about earlier, things like blood pH, lactate during exercise, or EMG for muscle activation.
So the why behind some improvements is still a bit fuzzy.
Yeah, the exact physiological pathways aren't fully mapped out by the study alone. Still speculative to some extent.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this all up. What's the main takeaway for someone listening, maybe an athlete, a coach, or just someone interested in performance?
I think there are a few clear points. One, short sprint interval training is definitely effective for boosting key basketball performance measures. It works.
Like baseline.
Two, adding either L-Citrulline or sodium bicarbonate can significantly enhance those gains. You get more bang for your training buck, essentially.
And importantly,
And importantly, three, these supplements seem to help manage training stress, shown by those lower cortisol levels compared to placebo. That's potentially huge for recovery and maybe preventing burnout.
though combining them didn't seem to add extra benefit in this specific short-term study.
Right, at least not here. Either one seems sufficient for the observed boost over 4 weeks.
So, a final thought for people to chew on.
Yeah, think about this. If you can consistently reduce the physiological stress of training, like that lower cortisol suggests, what does that mean long term? Could it lead to better overall well-being, fewer injuries, maybe even help players sustain high performance for longer in their careers? This study gives us a glimpse into how optimizing these details might have really significant downstream effects. It's about building resilience.
A really powerful thought. Optimizing the small things for big impact. Well, if this deep dive has sparked your interest, we hope it has, we definitely recommend checking out the full study. Again, it's Combined V's single supplementation of L-Citrulline and sodium bicarbonate during sprint interval training in basketball players, effects on physical performance and hormonal adaptations by Wang, and Qian in the Journal of Sports Science and Medicine. And of course, make sure you follow the Deep Dive channel and turn on those notifications so you don't miss our next exploration. Thanks for joining us.